Okay, everybody, this is a shameless plug for the Patreon, but I am recording this wrap-up right after the Patreon monthly Jackbox game night that we have over there, and we always have a blast, but tonight we actually almost had to call an ambulance because I was laughing so hard at a dumb joke that one of us made during this game night that I almost passed out, and we probably would have had to call the ambulance. It would have been really scary because I would have been doing a live stream, and then I laugh, and then I drop off screen, and then it gets really awkward and no one knows where I live. It would have been both hilarious and terrifying. I'm just saying, the Patreon link is down below. Hello everybody, my name is Michael Knipp, and I can't believe that June is over already. I probably say this at the end of every month, but June really flew by for me. I didn't get a lot of the things that I wanted to read done, and also I have decided to reshape my reading priorities. Also, I have some updates that I need to tell you guys about because there are some big things that have been happening. The first thing I need to address is that I have been posting some video game related content on this channel, and there's been some fun reception to that. There's been people that have enjoyed watching the video game series that I and Alan from the Library of Alexandria have been working on together. We made a list and finally completed this project. We were talking about our personal top 10 favorite role-playing games, but for the sake of people who may be watching this channel that don't care about video games, and for the sake of the algorithm getting confused when we talk about video games on a primarily bookish channel, we have created a video game focused channel that includes myself, Alan from the Library of Alexandria, as well as some other guys, and we are going to be making video game focused content, including a weekly video game podcast. We've already got that started. The channel is called Press X to Revolution. I will link it down below, but that will be the last I sort of talk about video games on this channel. I don't want the people that are here to hear about books to get annoyed if I post video game content here, and also I would like to provide a dedicated space for posting video game content in the future. So if you are a fan of video games, and especially if you are a fan of the discussions that Alan and I had about role-playing games both on his channel and my channel, I suggest you go over and check out Press X to Revolution to get your video game fix from now on. Thank you very much. Now to the books that I read in June. The first book I'll talk about that I read in June was Rabbits by Terry Miles. This is a book that was published in the cinematic universe of this audio drama that I really like, also called Rabbits, but there's this whole umbrella of other audio dramas that take place in the same world. And when I found out that Terry Miles was releasing a book in this universe, I really wanted to get a hold of it for myself. I was able to get an early copy and drop my review on release day. Rabbits is like a noir, techno, punk, sci-fi thriller adventure of like a scavenger hunt with a game that transcends the normal laws of physics and science, and it gets really crazy. I recently heard someone describe the pacing similar to like a Blake Crouch book because it's really action-packed. I have a dedicated review for that book here on this channel, and I just want to say there was a secret contest included in the review for that video. If you go back and watch that video, there was actually a segment of audio in that review. There was actually a segment of audio in that review that was backmasked, and if you were to somehow take the audio from that video and reverse it and play it backwards, it played a message with instructions on ultimately how to win a free copy of that book, and there were winners. There were winners. Especially after I threw out a hint in my tier ranking list video, there were some people that went back to the video and they were able to find the clue. And so multiple people were able to win a free copy of Rabbits that I sent them in the preferred format, physical or digital. So congratulations to the winners of that. I would love to do more goofy, weird, hidden stuff on the channel here in the future. Thank you for giving me the encouragement to do that by actually taking the time to solve the dumb puzzle that I made. Another book that I was very glad to get a hold of this month was called The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. It's the next book by the author of The Silent Patient, which is a really big thriller that I personally loved a lot that came out a couple years ago. The Maidens was very engaging throughout. It wasn't as good as The Silent Patient. Ultimately, for me and for many of the people that commented on my review of that video, which will be linked up above, the ending seemed to come from so far out of left field that it didn't necessarily feel satisfying. There were some people that said they predicted it, but even one specific person who mentioned in my comments that they read the book twice said even on their second read through, they did not think that it was foreshadowed enough. It was a very confusing ending. But I had a hard time being too hard on the book because ultimately it was really fun. It was something I read very fast because I was really interested in the story. And while the ending was frustrating, that's not something that can ruin a book for me, even a thriller. So The Maidens was an enjoyable, if somewhat disappointing, follow-up to The Silent Patient. Next, I gotta talk about Jade War. This has been a sort of joke on my channel for a very long time. I was supposed to buddy read this book a very, very long time ago, and it got delayed multiple times by both me and the person I was supposed to buddy read it with. It was a ridiculous and hilarious conundrum. But the truth was, while I really did enjoy Jade City, I wasn't necessarily chomping at the bit for Jade War, so it wasn't a big deal. I finally was involved in a buddy read of Jade War with QNTG and Murphy, and I dropped the ball so hard you could not drop a ball harder. The problem that I had with Jade War is that while this book seems to be getting almost unanimous praise for being this amazing, beautifully crafted sequel to Jade City, I found it to largely be filled with what I felt like was just filler content. I really am the minority here, but I have to be honest, and what I read in Jade War felt like an author who was sort of stream of consciousness, just like writing by the seat of their pants, trying to get a certain number of highlighted important things to happen, and along the way, nothing happened except kind of nothing. And that's really mean and it seems overly harsh, but frankly, I really had a hard time getting through this one because there was so little happening between the major events and it seems so random, and the book takes place over like 2 years, maybe more. It really felt like there were large chunks of the book that they could have either skipped over entirely or condensed certain things to have them make more sense. I struggle to find the love in this book that everyone else did, and I kind of personally enjoyed the first book a little bit more. That being said, it was still a 3-star read for me. I by no means regret reading it, and I am still wanting to read the third book of the series because I want to find out what happens to these characters. I'm already semi-invested. This is just probably not going to be one of those favorite series for me. Maybe there's a time and place where I read Jade War in a different headspace, a different time in my life, and I end up loving it just as much as everybody else. But I sort of was left with an impression when I read Jade War that I read something different than most of the people who were super hype about it, and I feel bad about it. It disappoints me because I want to love all the stuff that I'm reading. But it became a joke on my Discord that I could not get through this book. I just didn't have the drive because I would pick it up and I'd read a couple chapters and nothing would happen. And I'd struggle to get through it. I was already in a weird, kind of reading slump just because I wasn't that interested in this book that I really wanted to finish. And so it delayed all my other stuff, but I've done it. I told people I would finish Jade War if it's the last thing I did. I read the book. I enjoyed a lot of stuff that happened at the end. I'm glad that there was some movement and some momentum and some major events that sort of changed the course of what we were going to do going forward. Like I said, I'm excited for Jade Legacy whenever that comes out. I believe it is this year. I'm still trying to decide if I want to do a dedicated video for Jade War here on this channel, just because I have such weird, aggressively neutral feelings about the majority of this book. It's not that I super disliked it. I just wasn't engaged, and that's a hard thing to talk about for a review. And let's talk about my continued experience with the Dresden Files. As the Dresden series has continued along further, I've become more invested in Dresden than I thought I would be. I'm getting more interested in the characters that have been recurring. There's more interesting scenarios that are popping up. All the little pieces of threads that have been placed throughout the story are now starting to weave into intricate tapestries in a way that you never would have assumed just reading the first book if you hadn't heard anybody talk about it, because it really did just feel like a one-off noir cop sort of detective story, but it's turning into something greater than that, and I'm really starting to care about it. Deadbeat was a great entry in this series. It had a lot less of the things that annoy me about the series, which is a lot of Harry just being placed in ridiculous, comically ridiculous situations where he's forced to combat just being a big horny pants, and that could be really frustrating. This book had essentially none of that, and it instead had an incredibly epic moment that was foreshadowed early in the book. I was a little scared about it not happening at one point in the book, but instead what I was given is one of the most wonderful book visuals I will ever have, some amazing character moments. Deadbeat was great, and once again, I have finished a Dresden audiobook, and I'm just so dang annoyed that I have to wait on my library to have an available copy for me to read the next one. Dresden is this series that I started off enjoying but not loving, that I'm secretly starting to get really into, and every time I finish one of these books, I'm like, dang it, now I have to wait another couple weeks for the next one, because people at my library are already reading it. Just please return it and let me read it, and then you can have it back, please. Now I'm recording this wrap up before the month is fully over. I hope to have this book finished by the end of the month, but as of right now, I'm still reading it, and that is a Patreon buddy read pick for this month, which is Project Hail Mary. Every month, everyone who supports me on Patreon gathers together, and we have this big vote for what buddy read book we're going to pick for the month. And this month, the pick was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, which, if you're not aware, he's the dude that wrote The Martian, the book that became the movie The Martian. And I am loving this book so far. The thing about like the negative criticisms that I saw about this book before I picked it up for myself was that it seemed to just be a copy of The Martian, but he did it again, and I could not disagree more with what I've read of this book so far, which is approximately 1/4 of the book. The Martian, if you don't know, it's this very grounded story about someone that gets stranded on Mars, and he does his best to survive. This book, one, starts off with one of my favorite tropes, which it may not be popular for everybody, but it starts off with an amnesia trope where a character does not know who he is or where he is or why. I always love that. It also creates a very, very easy, maybe somewhat lazy, that's why people don't like it, but it provides an opportunity for the character to learn a lot of things for the first time that gives us an opportunity to learn it for the first time in a way that if a character was proficient at something, he wouldn't have to be remembering, and it feels too much like an exposition dump. But when the character has amnesia, you both learn it. It's a good trick. I love amnesia in a story. But this book feels like it is more willing to take fiction risks in the science fiction category, whereas The Martian felt more grounded to me, at least the movie. I haven't read the book. This book is willing to take some more risks and play a little bit more fast and loose with the fiction side of things, and I love it. I love it so much. I can't wait to continue along with this book. And I am hoping to have this finished by the end of this month, at the very least by the beginning of next month. Speaking of next month, let's talk about my July TBR. And here is the second of one of the major changes that I'm going to be talking about. Moving forward, I'm going to go back to something that I said I was going to do at the beginning of the year, and then I just shifted away, which is instead of doing what I always do, which is just starting new series after new series, I am going to focus on the buddy read book for the patrons that we select for that month. And the rest of my time, I'm going to mostly mood read, but I'm going to focus specifically on trying to actually finish some of the dang series that I've started. I made a video at the beginning of this year of a ton of series that I wanted to finish, and instead I started more and I haven't finished any of the previous ones. So I have so many open series, and I'm getting this urge to go read more of them, but I keep committing to other reads, and I am going to try to focus on mood reading, but also mood reading and focusing down this list of series that I've already started, because frankly, it gets annoying when I want to talk about a series, but I haven't finished it. When people want to talk to me about a series, but I haven't finished it because I read the first book a long time ago and never continued, I'm a dummy dumb. I'm hoping to resolve some of that problem with this new strategy moving forward. So the buddy read pick for this month is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, which, yeah, it is another series I'm starting, but this is one I've been so curious about for so long. Alan from the Library of Alexandria, I mentioned him before, he gave me this copy of The Name of the Wind. It's also a series that is very popular. It's talked about, it's memed on BookTube. I have no idea what it's about because I've never read it for myself, so I am really, really interested in picking up The Name of the Wind. And if I love it, I can just read the second book next month too, because I'm in a mood reading, completing series mode. Even though I said I'm mostly going to focus only on one committed book a month, I also have a punishment for a challenge video that I did with Amanda where I lost the challenge, and the punishment that I was supposed to do was that I was supposed to give my Twilight treatment to A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. If you are unfamiliar what my Twilight treatment is, I went into Twilight trying to understand Twilight on its own terms, and if you check out my channel, I have a playlist following my entire journey of reassessing the way that I interpret Twilight, and then reading all of the books, watching all the movies, and giving my thoughts during a summation of each of those book and movie plots. It was a blast for me. It seemed to do well for the channel, and people evidently thought it would be interesting if I tried to give A Court of Thorns and Roses that Twilight treatment, so I need to do that next month. I was supposed to do it this month. That's my last major commitment that I can remember, and then after that, it's just going buck wild on series. And here is the third and final major thing that could affect this channel. This is good news, but it's also, it leaves things up in the air. It's a little bit confusing. Just in case you are not aware, my wife is pregnant with our fourth baby, and this baby is due early in August, which means that the baby could come anytime, normally and healthily, between the middle of July through the middle of August. And what does that look like for this channel? I have no flipping idea. Like I said, because we don't know when the baby's coming, I could just dip out middle of July and be like, see you guys in a month or something. I don't know. I don't want to just abandon you. I love making videos and reading books and talking about it with you guys in Discord. But obviously, the birth of my child is a very important life thing for me. And I want to make sure that I'm there to support Amanda, the new baby, as well as help wrangle the rest of my crazy children. So starting in July, we sort of really go into baby watch mode. And I don't know what that means for the channel moving forward for the short term. Obviously, I'm not going to just like abandon the channel, but for the short term, who knows what that's going to look like. I will try to keep you posted in all the places, my social medias, my Discord, this channel, the community tabs. I'll do my best to keep everyone posted. But yeah, it's going to get real weird and hectic all of a sudden, and I'm excited. But it also means I'm probably going to continue to never get enough sleep, as the stupid song at the end of every one of my videos talks about. Thank you for watching this wrap up of the books that I've been reading and what I'm looking forward to doing with this channel, as well as the Press X to Revolution channel going forward into the future. If you like video games, please go check out the Press X to Revolution channel. Once again, that is linked down below. Real quick, if you want to listen to the podcast, but you don't have time to watch it in video form, the Press X to Revolution podcast is available in audio as well. But if you enjoy books and you want to continue to hear me talk about books, I would love for you, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, to do so. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to join in with the Jackbox fun and the Buddy Read fun, and you'd like to help support this channel financially, especially in a time when I've got a baby about to be born, there is a link to a Patreon down below where you can help support this channel financially, help me to continue to do what I do here, as well as hopefully get access to some fun, silly content on the back end. Regardless, if you'd like to talk to me or other people in my community about books or anything in general, there is a link to my Discord down below, which is available for everybody to join. We have a blast over there. If you have a recommendation on a series that I've started that I need to focus on finishing first, let me know in a comment down below. Some ones that I can think of offhand without looking at a list are like Red Rising, the Ship of Magic trilogy, whatever those are called, Life Ship Traders, The Lies of Locke Lamora, Wheel of Time, Dresden. There's so many. The Faithful and the Fallen, The Expanse. Hey, did you guys know I started The Expanse? Anyway, let me know what you would like to see me focus on in the comments down below. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video again. I hope to see you again in the future. I will keep you posted on all the craziness going on in my life. Until next time, I'm not your dad. I am a dad of a fourth child about to be born, but I am your best friend. Bye.
Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired.